welcome everybody to our Keller Williams South Florida Regional Luxury Call. We're excited today because we've got some numbers to share with you. We've got some massive success stories of what's happening here in South Florida with luxury properties, and we've got a very special guest. So as always, I want to bring in my co-host, Kathrin Rain, who is our ambassador for luxury in South Florida. Kathrin, welcome. Hello.
Thank you. Hello to you all. Thank you for making time during the summer to join our call.
Yeah, we know lots of people are taking vacations, and especially in July. It's part of, though, what we do, right? We explore. Kathrin, you started taking vacations and you started buying properties, right, in different areas.
Yes, I did.
So that becomes part of our opportunity. We are realtors. By the way, just a quick promo here that I'm just going to drop in. Kathrin, I don't know if you've taken 8 weeks to wealth or if it's on your radar, but I can tell you I am in the middle of that. It's a KW course with Mark King and Jason Abrams and Brett Tanner. And I would just say to everybody on the call, if you have not investigated 8 weeks to wealth, I would highly recommend it. We're only in week 3 tonight, will be our 3rd week. It's 8 weeks, and it is really, really good. There are some great basic pieces in there. Have you peeked at any of that, Kathrin?
It's on my radar, but I'm involved in other classes that I need to finish before but I went to Keller Williams Wealth Workshop and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, wealth building is my passion. So
yeah,
sign me up for any of that.
And those two things are very similar, except the workshop is sort of a one or 2 day type of deal. This is over 8 weeks, but the materials are similar. There's a whole library of things that if you missed the call, I missed last Tuesdays. I just watched it last night and looked at the materials, and I'm ready for week 3. So lots of good stuff there. And we just want to always make you aware of all the value that Keller Williams adds, including the idea of building wealth, because our goal is to help you build wealth as well as selling properties.
Have you looked at the compound interest chart?
Yes, as part of that. Yeah, I sure have. Yeah,
mind-blowing.
It's fascinating. There's just little tips in there that if you listen to that, it's interesting. And then I go back to my money manager, a guy who consults me, and I say, is this a real thing? He goes, yes, actually I do that too. Yes, I just haven't told you that one yet. So there's lots of stuff that's going on. So it's really good. So today, Kathrin, we're going to start off by looking at numbers, and I'm going to go through these with you because we're going to kind of compare the language of real estate numbers, what's happening this year versus what happened last year. And then we'll bring our guest on, and somewhere in between, we'll sprinkle in a really big success story of what's happening in South Florida. An agent who has sold some huge properties that we want you to see that and hear a little bit about what they're doing to make that happen. So
great.
Tell us about what you discovered in lore, Kathrin, as you looked at the language of real estate for the last 2 years.
So I just took a really big listing in Miami, and my seller was very analytical. So I had to pull the numbers, and it was like pulling teeth, but I learned a lot. And I looked at the numbers last year, January till June. And then I compared them to this year, January till June, and you will see a big difference because we look at those numbers on every call, but we never look at the numbers from the year before. So the numbers don't really mean anything if you can compare them to anything, right? It's like, okay, 15,000 listings sold sounds great, but if you compare the
So did Kathrin freeze and everyone else is still moving? Is it just Kathrin who froze? Yes.
trend down.
Yes. Here she is. Kathrin, you froze for about 20 seconds there. As soon as we went to the board, pretty much we froze. You were talking about comparing last year to this year. So if you would pick it back up again from there, you'll see that we had 15,000 luxury listings sold last year compared to 10,000 this year, and so on. So kind of take us through what you're thinking.
Okay, so just real quick, we have storms here in Miami, and that's why my internet connection is going in and out. So sorry about that. Can't really control that. But what I was saying is we have this year compared to last year, 35% drop in listings sold, 36% drop in buyer closings, and over 34% 36% actually in agents who transacted over $1 million. So it's always important to look at the numbers compared to the year before and the year before, because then you can see how can you change your business, how can you pivot. And I think in this market, what we really need to focus on is getting listings. That's the real art. Anybody can convert buyers, but the real art is having listings to get more buyers.
Listing, it's leads, listings, and leverage, right? And that's true in every segment of our business. I like too, Kathrin, that even though some of the total numbers have dropped off, there are still almost 3,400 agents, transactions involving referrals. So the referral piece of our business in this luxury network is massive. And we have a little thing coming up. Does anyone know what's coming up in August? It's a little thing in Austin. Anyone want to jump in and share what it's called? Who knows? Somebody save us. Who knows? What's happening in Austin, August 14th, 15th, 16th?
Mega camp.
Mega camp, right? So you can go to mega camp. Well, you could stay home. Number one, you could stay home. Number two, you could choose to go to mega camp and think of it as an investment in your future, both in what you'll learn and in the opportunity to get referrals. We've challenged your leaders in the market centers to get 100 guests to Austin, Texas, whether that's people from the market center or people from the marketplace. But you want to be there so that you get the secrets before other people in the marketplace get them, right? And all that to say, the referral opportunity in here is huge. We've shared with you before that we have a luxury agent in the region who went to family reunion and got 20 pieces of business, 20 leads on business in just 4 days. Anybody on here, raise your hand if you would like to get 20 pieces of business, 20 leads in 4 days. How many people would like to have that? Somebody raise their hand. Would anyone want it? Would anyone want that? Yes, you would want that. Mark Benson, wouldn't you want that? I don't see your hand up. You'd want 20 leads in 4 days. This actually happened, but it came from being targeted and specific about saying, I'm going to meet 3 to 5 people at breakfast. I'm going to meet 3 to 5 people at lunch. I'm going to meet 3 to 5 people at dinner. And this agent actually sent me a video after 3 days of all the cards that she had collected. She had over 60 cards that she collected, morning, noon, and evening. And the scripts are really simple, right? When you start out in the morning, it's, hey, you're grabbing coffee. You say, hey, how are you? Boy, isn't it a great day? What are you looking forward to most? And at lunch, it's, hey, isn't it a great day? What have you enjoyed this morning? And at dinner, it's, hey, what did you enjoy most today? And that's it. And then it's just trading information and doing a referral relationship and coming back to Florida and sharing out so that you have, you reconnect with the person once you get back. If you do those pieces, your opportunity to build your business is huge. After 1 week, when we came back, the person that did this at family reunion had 5 leads and had given away 2 pieces of business. Within 3 weeks, it was 10 leads and 2 pieces of business. Within 2 months, it was 20 leads and 2 pieces of business to other people. So as you're making those follow-up calls, you just continue to get more and more leads. So
I do want to chime in also real quick, because I just did a breakdown of my income over the years. I've been now in real estate for 11 years, and my income went exponentially up once I started attending the conferences. So not just the referrals, but also the value and the information I got from those conferences was really career changing for me.
Yeah. So we've got thank you for that, Kathrin. We've got a question in the chat box of how often you call the same agent. And the way I would do it is, Paula, is a 1 by 12. So, you know, we do it with our database of consumers. We do a 36 touch minimum. With agents and agent-to-agent referrals, I would do a 1 by 12, but I would still do the same thing. I would call them quarterly, or I would call them at the very least 2 or 3 times a year. And you're just calling to say, hey, just check it in. Paula, hey, it's Mark from Detroit, Michigan. I remember we met at family reunion. I was just checking in to see how you're doing. I wanted to remind you, I'm here in Florida. The market is still roaring and we're doing great. I was wondering if there's anything I could do for you. Well, I see you at Mega Camp. Great to touch base with you. I'll talk to you again soon. It's just a quick warm-up call. You just want to do just like you do with your consumers, right? You're reminding them, if you have any referrals anywhere here in the Tampa Bay area, the Florida area, just let me know and I'll help you. If I can't handle it, I'll send it to my friend Mark Benson, who's in Naples. So you know that you have contacts. You just want to create that relationship and build that connection. So that's what I would do. And once you've gotten that really solidified, I think 2-3 calls a year would be enough to stay in touch. I have the same person I've had in Orlando for 20 years because they did a great job of cementing that relationship. So great question. Kathrin, anything else on the language of real estate that you wanted to share?
I think it's just really super important to follow up with your previous clients, ask how they are, how they're doing, look at the market every day. So you're the expert. When you take a new listing, then you don't overpromise, because it's certainly not 2021 or 2022 anymore. We make sure that we educate people correctly, price correctly, and just focus on taking listings. The listings are the people that take the listings now are going to be that thrive once the market picks up a little bit more with inventory. And I also do want to say, it's not necessarily that the market has slowed down too much, especially, in my area, it hasn't slowed down too much. It's also the limited inventory that is driving those numbers a little bit down, because we really don't have much to sell. Yeah, all well said. Hey, another reminder on Mega Camp, if you have not seen this, the CEO Summit, I think they call it, is happening. Someone texted me and asked me, just so you know, that CEO Summit is happening. It's on the Monday before Mega Camp. So I'm actually flying in that Sunday. The CEO Summit is Monday, and then Mega Camp, I believe, starts on Tuesday. So I found the CEO Summit really interesting and great business building strategies that you can learn from Gary and the guests he'll have there. Among the guests he'll have there this year is Tony DeCello. You guys all know who Tony DeCello is? You know what? Our guest that's hopping on in a second, Rhonda, she actually has a story about Tony DeCello. It's funny that you say that. Yeah, Tony is widely regarded as the most accomplished real estate coach, really, of all time. And his ability to develop strategies. He's the one, if you heard the agent in Keller Williams, who got 100 listings in 100 days. That was one of Tony's people. Oh, that was his. Person had never taken more than 30 listings in a month. They took 100 listings in 100 days. So it was really powerful. So Tony will be one of the guests at the summit. And I would just really I just read Heather Edwards. She just took 12 listings in 30 days. I thought that was pretty remarkable too. 12 listings in 30 days is good. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I see Rhonda has jumped on here. Kathrin, do you want to introduce our guest and share a little bit with her? Let's get started. After looking at the numbers. Oh, one more thing I want to say to the numbers. We don't show you those numbers so you get depressed or discouraged. We just want to show you reality so you can act accordingly and take action and pivot. Okay. All right. So let's start with our fabulous guest. Today we have Utah in the house. I'm very grateful she's jumping on early because it's for her the morning. So Rhonda Berdinner, welcome to our luxury mastermind call.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your production last year and your team structure.
Yes, our team structure, we call it lean and mean. It's really my husband and I. We have a part-time buyer's agent and a part-time assistant. So it's us. On the residential side, we did 27 million. On the commercial side, I'd have to look at his numbers. My husband does commercial, probably another 10 or so. So that's really our structure. And that is one of my pain points. I know that we need more leverage, and that's something that we need to focus on. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your honesty, because we are all not perfect, right?
Very transparent. Yes.
And you said to me that your assistant is your daughter.
It is. It is. Our college age daughter is currently our assistant. So when she graduates, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep her or not. So that's my goal. So
yeah. It's a family business.
It is. It is. And our son has worked for us before in the past, prospecting as well. So yes.
Awesome. And you are not born and raised in Utah. You are a transplant. Tell us a little bit how you got to the area and what you thought about it in the beginning, and then how you kind of fell in love with it.
Sure, very interesting. We're actually from Michigan originally. We're from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So I always tell people there's more deer than people there. There's not a lot of people there. We were there. My husband joined the military and we literally traveled all over the world for 21 years. He retired. We actually, right before he retired, we built a home in San Antonio and thought we were going to stay there forever. And if you know anything about the military, you can't make those plans. He got orders to Utah 2 weeks before his 19-year mark, so we could not turn those orders down. We figured we'd come here, finish out the assignment, and then go back to San Antonio. I actually worked for the government at that time as well. So we came here, and I think within a week, I knew I wanted to stay. It's just, it's every, of all the places we've stayed, this is the only one that I really felt, except for San Antonio, that I could live here forever. So here we are, 12 years later. And we are here and no plans of moving.
So why Utah? Sell us on the area.
Oh, it's so easy. I absolutely love it here. We're high desert. So we're north of Salt Lake. We've got mountains, we've got a ton of skiing, a ton of hiking, and the seasons are very, very strong. So right now, I think we're supposed to be 102 again today. So people don't really expect that here. We're hot and dry. And then the winters, I used to describe them weak compared to Michigan, but last winter we got hit pretty hard. So the winters can be a winter, but then it's over and here we are in the summer. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
So you are a nature lover.
I am, definitely. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna look later at a few of the properties that she picked for us, because we always want to showcase what can our buyers that we send to Rhonda to buy in Utah get for the money. And we have different price ranges starting in the high 400s all the way to almost 5 million. So we're gonna look at that in a little bit. So Rhonda, you told me when we did our prep call that you love prospecting. Tell us a little bit about that, your whole mission behind it. And then I also want to know, like, on a day-to-day basis, like, how does it look like in particular?
Okay. I will say one thing, a minor correction. I don't love prospecting, transparency, but I love the results from it because people don't do it. So it was so interesting when I hopped on the call and the first thing I heard was Tony DeCello. And like you mentioned, we talked about him yesterday real briefly. I went to a training with Tony years ago. I don't even remember what it was, but that was so impactful to me because he just briefly mentioned this prospecting that he would do, and he called it elephant hunting. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that before, but basically what he did is he would set one day aside of the week and just have that as his high dollar listing prospecting. And we thought that was a fun way to kind of put that into our business. So we had Friday and it's on our calendar. This is our elephant hunting day. So what we do sometimes, and we've had more luck with the old expireds versus the new ones. So we'll look at the old expireds. In our market, anything over $1 million is considered luxury. So we'll take those and we'll really dial the list down. I don't call every single one. I call the ones that I think, yeah, this is a great listing. Why didn't this sell? So my script when we call them is just really, it comes from curiosity. I never say I have a buyer unless I truly do, but it's more like, I'm really surprised. I saw your beautiful home left the market. It didn't sell. Do you still want to sell, or what are your plans there? And get them talking that way. And we've had great success with that. Our biggest listing actually came from, it was actually a cold call. So that works.
So where do you get your lists from?
Sometimes I've used the Coles. If I'm circle prospecting, I'll use Coles. We've used Landvoice in the past, but right now we get the most luck from Vulcan 7.
Okay. So say, it is Friday. Tell me how you start your day, and then at what time do you go into the calls, and for how long do you call?
Usually around 9 a.m. I know in a lot of the trainings, we were told 8 to noon or whatever. We've kind of figured out 9 a.m. we get the most answer rate. So anywhere between 9 to 11 and very focused calling. And I think a lot of people over the last 10 years, I've seen a big shift where people really don't prospect as much anymore. And because we still do, we're having more results. I think just less people are
Saying
calling.
people are getting too lazy to pick up the phone.
Yeah, they want the people to call them, which I totally understand. It's a lot of fun when somebody has a come list me call, but we're out there digging and getting the people that are like, yeah, I actually did want to move. I just haven't taken that step to list yet. And then we talk to them. So
Do
that's
you
where
use a script for that, or you just have a conversation and
it's really a conversational, I know where I want to be and I've practiced the scripts a lot. So it's really just coming from curiosity. Just, hey, did you guys change your mind? I'm just curious. We have people moving from, wherever, and I think your house would be great. So just kind of talk to them a little bit and see what their plans were.
okay, great. So one of the other things you mentioned to me is you're great in referrals. And we just mentioned that Mega Camp is around the corner and encourage people to sign up because it's great for referral opportunities. I want to know from you, how do you build your referral relationships and how do you keep your referral partners happy and how do you stay in touch with them?
Oh, that's a good question. So my husband, I mentioned, was retired military. So we have a lot of military clients that have moved in, moved out. And we really have, before Command has that awesome map in there where you can see where people come and go, we kind of developed one of our own where we would have a list of agents at each base, and where we would see a lot of people leave Hill Air Force Base here in Utah and go to wherever. And we really developed a relationship with them. I have one agent in California. He works the San Diego market. We've probably done 15 referrals with him back and forth. So that's been great. As far as keeping in touch with them, it really depends on the agent. Sometimes if I find out that our mission at Hill has changed a little bit and we're going to see more referrals going, we've seen a lot go to Probert Field in Florida. So we'll kind of contact them and say, hey, heads up, we've heard that this unit is moving, and just kind of providing value to them so that we're top of mind.
Right. That's amazing. Okay. So now that, we just looked at I don't know if you saw that, but we just looked at the luxury numbers from compared to January till June this year. We are 35% down pretty much throughout the board on buyers, listings. Do you feel that in your market too?
We definitely do. One thing with us, I think it's super important to know those numbers, but not put your head in the sand and say, well, the market's down, so, we're going to be down automatically. We dig harder at that point. We're like, people are still, I look at the numbers, people are still coming in, people are still moving out. So they're going to use us. That's just kind of my mentality, is we might have to work a little harder. We might have to prospect a little harder. And that's just our thought process there.
So your pivoting is just working harder and prospecting more to outwork people.
Yes. And for some reason, and again, a transparency moment, I really, over the years, I always heard dig into your database. And I did the same things everybody else was doing, was sending email drips and was like, well, I'm doing this so many times a year, and we weren't getting the results that we wanted. So about 2 or 3 years ago, we really pivoted and we really wanted to make it a personal experience. So, and something I mentioned to you when we spoke on the phone is, and I'm sure a lot of agents here have experienced the same thing, is you'll be put on a drip campaign, a lender or something, and we all get the exact same drip. And sometimes I'll get the same email 20 times within 30 seconds from a mortgage company. I wanted to be different than that. So what we do for our marketing, and it's really the same for our luxury clients and our other residential clients, is I look on social media. My daughter helps us out with this too. We'll look at a personal or a life event, and then we send them a targeted gift. And a lot of times it might be something smaller. Over the years, we tried to spend so much money getting the shiny, sexy objects, and we get more results from being very personal and targeted. So an example, I've got a couple. One example that's very recent. We have a client who's a chiropractor for animals. So that's kind of different, and very into horses. And she just had a baby. And we could have sent her this fancy basket with a bunch of things. And what we did instead, my daughter found these tiny little baby cowboy boots, and we sent her those. And she sent us pictures. She was just over the moon with that. So I think it's things like that that really keep us top of mind. And it's not always asking for business. It's just being there and letting them know that we're here and we want to be involved.
I love your appreciation marketing because you're very targeted. So all of us always send those emails out. I mean, we all have this issue. We have not enough time to service all of our clients and make them happy and love on them. And I find myself having this issue too. How do I make people feel special without spamming them, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I love your example. So you look on social media, what's going on, but it's very time consuming to do it this way.
It is. And we found, and again, that's why my daughter kind of helps us out with that. And we're not on social media with everybody. There's some clients that just, that's not their jam. Another client, he actually bought a second home here in Utah, and he's a plastic surgeon in San Diego. He just doesn't have a lot of time. And since our market is so different from where he lives, whenever we're near his house, we'll snap a picture, or we'll just say, hey, did you know this? Your landscaping looks amazing. My husband, who's a hunter, one time was up there and saw a flock of turkeys crossing the road, and he was calling them in. I mean, it sounds so funny, but sending him that video of him calling in the turkeys and saying, isn't this amazing? You know, your place looks awesome. He loved that. That was just, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just letting him know we're here if you need us. And yeah.
So really well. What luxury tips do you have for us? When you look at the normal clients and the luxury clients, how do you treat them different?
You know what? I don't even know if I treat them different. I'll be completely honest with you. It's every client has their own personality, and you can tell just from meeting somebody. We've all gone through training with DISC and things like that. It's just knowing how they want to communicate and making it very personal. So a lot of our luxury clients, I think, just would not be impressed with the big fancy gift baskets like we used to do. They're more impressed just knowing that we're here, we're people, and we want to give them value. So again, you know, we've got this up on the screen. It sounds super basic, but gosh, the number of agents that I think don't do this. We have to know our market. We have to know where the buyers and sellers are coming from. So when an agent when a client calls us and says, hey, you know what, we're thinking of selling this, we might say, hey, you know what, hold on, wait for ski season. We've got a couple, you know, we've got one of the ski hills is doing a huge expansion. So hold on, wait a second. This is what I would do if it was my place. Just giving them value and knowing that market like it was my house, what I would want to have done. So I think that's super important.
So, but when you moved to Utah, you didn't know the market. How did you learn the market? What was to give us a fast track on learning a market?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So in my previous life, I was an auditor for the Air Force. So I was very into details, just huge into research. So that's what I did. I researched numbers. I went to brokers' opens if they had them, and just tried to get into as many homes as I could, just so I could see what was out there, and developing a relationship with agents too. So some of the agents that are just really experienced in the market, I would talk to them and say, hey, I'm just curious, where did that buyer come from? Or how did you get this listing? And things like that, just knowing that I wanted to break into that market.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. And so then let's talk about presentation. Okay. You said to me how important it is to look the part. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is huge. And sometimes when I do training, I see agents roll their eyes a little bit, but it is what it is. We have been told throughout the years that we dress up too much and we make other agents look bad. Really, I want every single client that we work with, whether it's a first-time buyer or a luxury buyer, to feel like this is a job for us. This is not a hobby. You're never going to see me in a hoodie and ripped jeans knocking doors. And I've seen that happen with agents. And I think you should always look like you are the agent, you are the professional. So we've had buyers that maybe they were first-time home buyers, $400,000 or $500,000 buyer, refer us to their parents, their grandparents, their boss, because they felt like we gave a luxury presentation, you know, that we made them feel important. So that's why I think presentation is important. And I would imagine in your market too, with your weather, I'm sure people just, it's common to be
wear flip-flops.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of them do. I don't, but yes.
I totally see that. And I think too, it's, and I'll say this with a caveat, if I'm in the valley looking at a home that's maybe more of a mountain, I will dress to that. I'm not going to wear heels if I know I'm going to be walking around on a mountain, but I'm always trying to be maybe one step above where the clients are at, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
There is one agent
A
who's
little bit more casual, you
Yeah.
dress a little bit down.
Correct. I just kind of know where I'm going to be so that if they want to take me out back and show me where their horses are, I can actually walk there. I'm not going to be in heels. So kind of common sense stuff, but we do always want to be professional looking.
Okay, Rhonda, we're gonna take a little break here because we have a testimonial from our South Florida luxury agents. She's only available for like 10 minutes. So we're gonna bring her on real quick and then we're gonna come back to you, okay?
Perfect.
Awesome. Mark?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm really enjoying listening to our conversation with Rhonda. She's going to share some photos and some tips in just a bit. So that'll be really good in the second half of our interview. We want to bring in Kim Rodstein because Kim popped on today. She's had a couple of really big deals, and we just wanted to share that with everybody. Kim, congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Sorry for the reverb. I'm in Dustin's new office.
Okay.
I took over Jenny, so there's no acoustics here.
Well, it's adding special effects, so that's good. So we have a couple of big deals that you had. Now, the first one was like a $22 million deal that you did. Tell us about that one. We'll see a picture or two, which I think you posted on Facebook. You have the buyer on both these deals. So first of all, tell us about the property, and then we'll ask you how you cultivated this buyer.
Sure. So this is a very unique property located in Bal Harbor. It's one of the only penthouses that was available at the time, but in this particular building called Oceana. It's 2-story. It's about 5,000 square feet under air with a 5,000 square foot rooftop terrace that has outdoor kitchen and a pool, jacuzzi, cabana. It has views of both the Atlantic Ocean, and then you have views of all of Miami, if you will, and the Bay. So it's quite spectacular. It's an interesting story how this kind of came about. My clients who happen to be neighbors of mine. I live in Bal Harbor, which is it's a really prominent, wonderful neighborhood. And I've met a lot of my neighbors that have become friends and also clients of mine. So it's really about integrating yourself in your community. And that's how I've met a lot of my clients. Ironically, one of my neighbors needed to do a 1031 exchange. We were looking at an off-market property in my building, and we ended up missing out on it. So I took her to this building and I said, look, let's go see some properties in here. There were 3 million, a little bit more than she wanted to spend. And they fell in love with the building. They'd never been in there. So we went from seeing a $3 million to a $10 million to a $25 million penthouse. And at the end of the day, they ended up falling in love with the penthouse. And then we negotiated, it was probably one of my quickest transactions, about 48 hours to get the deal done. And we bought it with the furniture, and it's a pretty spectacular place. So
wow, yeah, that's a pretty broad budget. So what a great surprise and a fabulous property. If you were going to give one tip to everyone who's listening, how did you stay in touch with this buyer?
So as I said, these are neighbors. They were neighbors. We met at the dog park. So I encourage anybody who has a hobby or has, if you play tennis or you golf, wherever you hang out, if you will, or socialize, really get to know the people there, because you don't know what one connection may lead to another connection. I became friends with my neighbors at the dog park like 10 years ago. And through that, we've built up such a good rapport, and we've just established like a very solid friendship, and they've referred business to me. And they also know that I'm not a pushy realtor. I don't sit there and try to sway them into buying property. They just know like I'm the go-to realtor, especially in my particular neighborhood. So my one bit of advice is to really just immerse yourself in your area and really get involved with your community and get to know your neighbors. Especially like us, we live in a condominium. It's much easier for us to meet more people versus in a single family environment. But there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah, so what you're saying is all the neighbors count, all the neighbors count. How many times have we said, up, son of a gun, the Thompsons sold? Why didn't we remind them we're realtors, right? So all the neighbors count. I love that. And stay in touch with them. The second one was about a 10 or $15 million property. And tell us how you got this buyer. It's beautiful.
Right.
Oh.
So this is a fascinating story. So this client of mine, I met a few years ago online. We stayed in touch. We became friends on LinkedIn. He's not on any social media outlets. So we've always remained in touch. He's also in my database. And about 2 years ago, he was looking to relocate his entire company, like 200 employees, down to Florida. And we spent about forever. It would seem like 2 years. We took about 6 months and saw about 40 properties and found a beautiful home for him in the same area as this particular property. Sadly, he's going through a divorce, and he had received my email blast about my sale at Oceana. And he sent me a text to congratulate me. And then we started talking. He's like, well, I'm getting divorced. I need to buy a new house. And so that's how this deal just occurred. And I'll be selling the other house, which is also about, I don't know, $9.5, $10 million home that we'll be listing in probably like 2 or 3 months from now.
Awesome. So, all right. So the second tip I hear you saying is, put people in your database, neighbors or otherwise, and then let them know about the properties you are selling and the business you are doing. It creates validity and interest and inspiration sometimes to buy, right? These lessons don't have to be earth-shattering. They're typically fundamental. It's what Rhonda Kathrin had shared about Tony DeCello. Tony is a master of the fundamentals, and this paid off in a huge way for you, Kim. So we're so proud of you. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And we congratulate you and thank you for spending a few minutes sharing those tips with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
No, thank you guys for having me. Sorry to cut in, but I gotta go. Bye.
Thank you. All right. So those are tips that are really solid, and we love that Kim shared those, and we know that you've got some other great tips coming from Rhonda, right, Kathrin?
Yes. Rhonda, you still here, right?
Here, I'm here. Yes. No, that was great.
Right? Those sales, impressive.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Kim is in my office. I'm so proud of her. It's really amazing. Okay, so we were talking about presentation. So, you know, if you have a client that's dressed a little bit more casual, you're not dressing all the way up,
right?
But you want to be dressed a little bit better than the client.
Right. I'd say one step up is kind of our target. Yeah, we don't want people to feel uncomfortable by any means, but we want them to see us as professionals. So
okay, great. Okay, so let's go to your third point.
Mm-hmm. I know, again, this seems very basic, right? But I think a lot of us, when we do a lot of deals, it just turns into a transaction. It's very transactional, and we've really tried to be cognizant of that and make it more of an experience. So one thing that I'll share, Corey and I have, I think we're on our sixth property that we own outside of Utah. So we've learned a lot from those agents, from being on the other side. And we think we know so much about transactions, but then when we're the buyer, we're like, well, what's going on? We haven't heard anything. Do we need to do anything? So it's just treating every person like it is their first transaction and it's our first transaction. We walk them through every step. There's a lot of communication. And we try to make it fun for them too. We try to make it stand out a little bit versus just, you know, I don't know if this has ever happened to you if you bought a house, but when someone just signs you a document, you don't even know what it is, and they just want you to sign and send it back. Just little things like that. I can't believe agents do that. So
when I bought my mountain homes, I was shocked. I didn't even get closing gifts.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just keeping in mind that this maybe is your however many transaction of the year, but it's that person's first one. So making it an experience. And again, we try to personalize things. We don't want to give everybody the same closing gift or the same, whatever. It really depends on their personality. So that
So
takes
you
more
listen
effort.
to them. You listen to them, find out what they like, what personality they have, and then you customize a gift to them or an experience.
Correct. And it takes more effort for sure, but funny
Yeah.
enough, it usually costs us less.
Mhm.
So instead of doing this, grand thing, we give something very personalized to that person. So
Awesome. So I want to look with you at a few of the properties that you pull. So everybody pay attention, because this is what you can tell your buyers about what you can buy in Utah, and we can get a little bit of feel of the price point. So,
Yeah.
okay, house number one, that looks beautiful.
yes, this is an amazing house. And I'll tell you a little story about this one. We brought a buyer through it and she didn't buy it because of the seller. So the reason I wanted to show you this though is, and unfortunately you can't really see in the photos, but this is on a ski hill and the ski lift goes pretty much through the backyard. So it's a ski in, ski out. It's on the backside of Powder Mountain, and it's becoming a very exclusive area to be. And the reason the buyer did not buy this house, she wanted to be anonymous, and the listing agent was there and he kept bragging about who lived next door and who were the neighbors. And she did not want that environment. She wanted to be very, when she came in, she wanted to be incognito, spend some time there and leave and not have everybody know who she was. So that was interesting.
What a great tip for all of us to take away from this, that we should not over talk, right? And whoops, my camera. We should also keep our camera flipped around there. We got the camera that follows you everywhere. Got the wrong side of the office. And what a great tip. I didn't want that to go unnoticed, Rhonda, that on either side of the transaction, we should be tuned in to the client and who that person is ahead of time, rather than just blathering about anything under the sun. That's
absolutely. And he's a fantastic listing agent, but he wasn't reading the room. And I was cringing as he kept, because I could see her flinch a little bit every time he would mention somebody. And I thought, oh my gosh. And again, she didn't buy because of that. And another funny thing too, the seller happened to be home, which is not ideal. And he may have been important, but he was not as nearly important as the buyer. And there were some areas that he said she couldn't go into because he had people staying over, and he was just very kind of territorial. So it's kind of funny how that happened, because it was listed for 5.5 and it sold for 4.8. I think if she would have had a better experience there, she may have purchased, and she may have purchased for more than that. So that was interesting.
I do want to say something. And, I've had buyers that started working with me after working with another agent, and they dropped the agent because the agent would post pictures with celebrities on Facebook, on Instagram. Look who I worked with. Look who to be discreet when you work with high-end clients and high net worth individuals, I think is so important. And a lot of us, we think it's important to display on social media who we work with, but do those people really like it? And then I asked the agents and they're like, oh yeah, I asked if it was okay to take a photo, but which celebrity would say no if you ask them to take a photo, right? I think there is a big difference between being okay with taking a photo and putting it all over the internet.
Absolutely. Nobody knew that we took her out. Actually, we picked her up at the airport. We drove right on. She flew in a private plane. We picked her up, brought her there, took her to lunch, brought her back, and no one knew. And that's what she wanted. So eventually when she does decide to buy here, I'm very confident she will call us, because we protected her privacy.
Awesome. Okay. So let's look at a few ones that are, not this one. There was one for $1 million or 400 in the high 400s.
400,000.
Yeah. Can we go down?
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to show that one, I think this is such a great opportunity. And I've been, it was a condo. There we go. It was a condo in Salt Lake. And I've been eyeing this complex for a while. Reason being, my husband and I do short-term rentals. We're going on 6 now that we run and manage ourselves. And I really wanted to be in this building because it's a block away from the Vivint Arena. So that's in downtown Salt Lake, where there's a lot of concerts and sports and things like that. And this shows you, I think, what a great opportunity for only 400,000, a little over 400. It's small unit, but the location's fantastic. You're 20-minute drive from Park City. In order to get something like this in Park City, you'd be paying at least double. So for that, saving 20 minutes of driving, you can have something like this that you can head into, go skiing, go hiking, whatever, and fly out. Super easy.
Is this a 1 bedroom or how big is this?
It's a studio. It's considered a
Okay.
studio. It's only 600 square feet.
And I asked Rhonda to pull this up. While this is not in a luxury price range,
Right.
this is so important for somebody that you have in your own area that is a luxury client, might want to have a second home somewhere else in this price range. So it is for some people a luxury just to have a second home. That's why I asked her to bring this property to us. And then I also want to show the one for $1 million. Can we show that one, Alex? I think it was the one before. Yes, this one.
Yeah, the great thing about this one, in one of the photos, you can see more of an aerial view and you'll see the mountains on the side. You're 15 minutes from skiing right there. So it's considered in a town, but you are close to everything. Just over $1 million. So again, it qualifies for our luxury threshold. And really the design of that, I think you can, I don't know what your price point is there compared to this, but I feel like you can get a lot. A lot for your money there. And again, the views, the proximity, a lot of the builders around here are very good about that. There's views everywhere you go. And every once in a while I'll walk in a house and say, why did they put a wall there? They should have had windows, and they did everything perfectly on this one.
Wow, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us a little bit of your market. I find it fascinating. Whenever I travel somewhere, I always hit the KW app and look how much houses are. Do you do that too?
Same, absolutely. And one thing I want to highlight too, if you do have clients that would be interested in a ski condo or just somewhere to escape to, Park City is absolutely fantastic. But when we look at Eden and Huntsville, we call that the Ogden Valley. And again, that's right over the mountain on this side. A lot of people are saying that's going to be the new Park City. So it's an up and coming area. There's a lot of rentals there, and you're within 3 ski hills within 20 minutes. I mean, it's kind of a little, it's a secret around here. So that is something to keep in mind. You can get a condo for $400 or $500 and have somewhere to go.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I have one more question. I know we have one question from the audience also. So my last question for today is, you told me about your open houses. So I want to know what's your open house strategy, because I know you're like big on open houses.
Yeah.
And, even with luxury homes, you do open houses?
We sure do. We sure do. Depending on the client, if they're comfortable with it, and we kind of explain to them, and we're super transparent. We say, hey, you know what? We might not sell it from this open house, but you are getting visibility. So the reason that we're super targeted on this, when we first moved to Utah, I mentioned I was an auditor. My husband was an investigator. So when people say, oh, call your database, we didn't have one. No one wanted to talk to us. So we knew, okay, we need to create this business. So we started with open houses, and really back then people didn't do them. We had agents in our office that were like, yeah, go ahead. We don't want it. We were very strategic about the open houses we did and the locations they were and how we prospected for them. So again, I think I learned this from Tony DeCello as well. We would knock literally 100 doors. That was our goal, is to get 100 doors. Talk to the neighbors. Hey, we're going to do an open house on Saturday. We wanted you to be the first to know, since you're one of the neighbors. And can we please put a sign here? We always try to start a conversation, ask their permission for it. And, we always do the, hey, do you want to pick your neighbor kind of funny thing, and just try to get them talking. And that's been super successful. My husband actually retired from the military on a Friday, and he took over as the team leader of our market center on Monday. So that was a huge transition. And he would always do classes and kind of preach on the open houses. People think they don't work. They do. We still do them to this day. And we have agents all the time that'll come in and say, oh, I can't believe you guys still do your open houses, because they think.
And you set specific goals, right?
Absolutely. Yes. So when we do them,
I'm impressed by that, because she told me, she's like, I'm doing this open house with the intention to get 2 sellers, 2 other sellers, and 1 buyer.
Yes, correct. We're very targeted on that. And if you don't do that, we have so many agents, and I'll see them, in our area, that'll say, hey, I need to do an open house tomorrow. Does anybody have one I can do? Well, it's kind of late, because now you're going to throw the sign out and hope somebody walks in. You really need to be very.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that?
I hope so. you can't just throw out a sign on Saturday morning and hope that people will walk in and you're going to get business from it. You might, but that's not the way to do an open house. The way to do an open house is to be extremely targeted and very focused. And I'll see agents, new agents say, hey, does anybody have one I can do? Well, you're going to get the house that nobody wants to do an open house at. We teach agents when we teach classes at the brokerage, look in the MLS, find the neighborhood that you want to farm or that you want to be known as, and ask to do that open house. And then tell yourself when you're walking in, I'm going to have 2 sellers, 1 buyer, or whatever your goal is, and be very strategic. We just sold a house from an open house, just sold one. I think we closed on Friday. So they definitely work.
Right. Awesome. We have one question from the audience. I think somebody was asking earlier, what do you consider an old expired?
Oh, yes. And I had half of a message typed up and I didn't get a chance to send it. We consider old expireds anywhere between 6 months, and sometimes I'll go back 4 years. And sometimes I'll use a service for that. But honestly, I found that if I just pick an area, Utah, where we live, we're north of Salt Lake, it's very long and skinny. If that makes any sense. So I don't want to be just driving 2 hours for something. So I'll pick a zip code and I'll look at those price points and look at the old expireds and then do my research there and get my own list from that. So yeah, like I said, 4 years, actually, we've had clients from.
Right. Awesome. I love the idea of elephant hunting. That's my type.
Yeah, it makes it fun. And again, I know you tell agents to prospect and they just cringe. They're like, that's not me. It's not me either, but it's me when I go sign a listing and put a sign in front of the house and sell it. That makes me want to get up and go. Yes, it's fun to call it that elephant hunting, take that and run with it. I think it's worked well for us.
Awesome. Well, Rhonda, I want to thank you for your time today. I think we took a lot away from you. Here is Rhonda's contact information. Again, she works in Salt Lake City and north of it.
And north, yeah.
If you have any questions about her area, any questions for her, you can contact her. And of course, if you do have a referral, please reach out to her because she was so gracious with her time today. And thank you again, Rhonda.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Mark? So, Kathrin, thank you. Yeah, that was a great interview and some great insight, Rhonda. We really appreciate it. I had, I think, 3 or 4 takeaways from there. Number one, when I heard you talk about open houses, Rhonda, it's a reminder, we have an open house playbook. And what you want to do is a 6th level open house, which includes, we had an agent in Boca Raton do this recently. He put out 38 signs, or put out 30 signs and got 38 people to come through. He put out the signs, he knocked on the doors, he did all the things ahead of time. So that was a great tip. I also loved be discreet and mind your client's privacy, right? Both key things, Kathrin, that we sometimes forget, and good reminders.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate it. Also loved neighbors. Remember your neighbors, all the neighbors count, and also add people to your database and work your database. You should have a 36 touch. You should be bragging about the things that are going well in your business. People love to know you're selling houses or that you're sitting in open houses. All those are good things. So should we look at some of the classes upcoming, Kathrin, and just remind people?
Absolutely. If
you want leverage, we have a class called Career Visioning, and we're doing that in Doral on the 27th, but it is sold out. So unless we can knock out a wall, we have to talk to them about knocking out a wall.
You're very popular those days.
Yeah, well, it tells you that when you see opportunities, you need to jump on them.
Yeah.
And we're excited about the group that we have coming up in Doral. But I also just wanted to remind people, Career Visioning is an important class. It's about finding talent, hiring a good talent, and then being able to lead them to help you grow your business. So watch for the next one. We'll have another one coming out, and we have it coming out. Make sure you jump on it if you want to add leverage to your business. We also talked about Mega Camp and getting to Mega Camp on August 15th and 16th. On the 14th, I don't know, are you doing the summit, Kathrin, the CEO summit this year or no?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that'll be the day before. That'll be the 14th. So you could go in Sunday like we're doing and then be there the 14th, 15th, and 16th. But it'll be very exciting with guests like Tony DeCello and other people to help us build business. That is coming early next month, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Should all be there.
Yep. It'd be a great time. And invite a guest, bring somebody with you. I invited 2 people today. We'll see what they say. Agent Mastermind, tickets on sale now, September 7th and 8th. And Kathrin, you've been at this many times. It's always a good time. What do you like most about this event?
I love to see all the agents masterminding about different opportunities, and I always take so much away from it. It's like a mini mega camp. You really need to go to both, but if you have to pick one and you can't afford to travel to Austin, come to this one. Ideally go to both, but for me, the favorite thing is the networking.
Yeah, and if you connect with people at those in your network, you'll pay for both of them and then some. So
I mean, this is really what people have to understand. They pay for themselves.
Yeah.
If you do it the right way. So
If you
there
do
is
it the right
really no cost for you to go.
yeah. So we've got the codes there for you too, so you can tap into that. We have Mark King coming to that. We have Dan Griebe.
Ken Posick.
Ken Posick. Dan Griebe is going to tell a great closing story about what he contributes to and living a big life. So all great stories and lots of guests, including your friend Matt Leva is coming down to share with us 25 listings in 25 days. So he's going to be dynamite too. So we got lots of good stuff coming September 7th and 8th.
Very cool.
Our next luxury call will be later on in that month, September 19th at 1 o'clock. I know you're working on another great guest, Kathrin, and you've done such a great job lining up super talented people who are willing to share. It makes it a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun for me.
All right. Any parting shots here, Kathrin? Are you good?
I'm good. Sorry for my bad connection today. But I am happy on how the luxury division is moving forward. I don't know if you guys have heard about Luxury Pro membership. I think we should discuss that next time because there's a lot of great things coming up. And we are doing a one-day seminar in Miami in November. And I want to talk about that on our next call because you all should be a member of that.
All right, so we'll do that, and then we'll also get some information out to you on that. I will tell you that the materials we have now in luxury are so good. We talked to a top agent from another company just last week. They have the biggest market share. They sell over 100 homes a year and about 70 million in real estate, and they were blown away at the quality of the luxury materials. So it's really good stuff.
The material is amazing and on point, and it really helped me just now. I just got a $7.5 million listing, and I beat out another big company. I don't want to mention the name, but my material was better than what they had. I had the numbers on point. Everything was very organized and they were impressed. So we got the listing, KW Luxury got the listing. And I think there is a lot of opportunity for all of us out there. You just got to really dig into it and use the materials. So I really think we should spotlight that on our next call on all the things that we have available for the agents.
Sounds great. Thanks to everybody for joining us today, especially our guest, Rhonda, and to Kim for sharing. Kathrin, thanks for hosting and setting everything up. And we'll see you on next time. Mega Camper sooner. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Have a great afternoon.
Break rocks. You could be a master. Don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you